What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Oh no, we gotta change the camera. I'm a little too high. Too high. Let's go back. Slide. Slide. Oh, well, let's just adjust the camera. Too low. All right. I feel like that's good. Let's rock. All right, all right. You are now watching JUK Boyz Sports Show. I am your host, Kyng Ralph, here with another solo dolo show. Hope everybody's doing good out there. We're coming off a Super Bowl. We're coming off a good weekend, approaching All-Star weekend, and we got a good show ahead of us. So thank you all for watching. Wherever you're here from, make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. We're now live on Facebook. We are on JUK Network. Follow JUK Network, JUK Network on Facebook. You can subscribe at JUK Network as well, JUK Network on YouTube. Make sure you follow me at KYNGRALPH for any updates, content of any kind. Do got cannabis reviews up and going. Two Goobs is in full effect. Got a new episode recording on Thursday. New episode dropping next week. Got a cannabis review dropping on Friday this week. And yeah, thank you all for watching. But let's get to it. And like we always do, if you're looking for a clean, no crash, jitterless energy drink, use promo code JUK, JUK, for 20% off. We're going to get you right. Give me some chapstick. These lips is crusty. You know what I mean? So, but let's get into it. Make sure everything's posted where it's supposed to be at. All right, bet. But yeah, we're in here. So Super Bowl was a snoozer, a bit of a snoozer. Not a lot going on, to be honest with you. But Patriots lose, come up short. 13-29 to the Seahawks. Sam Darnold gets his redemption. Like I mentioned before, Kenneth Walker did his thing. 27 carries, 135 yards, no touchdowns, but very much contributed and ended up getting the NFL Super Bowl MVP. Kind of called it, although I said I would have liked Sam Darnold to be able to put his stamp, put some respect on his name, but in the end, it ended up being where he played well, didn't have a great game, missed some throws, 19 of 38, 202 yards, one touchdown, no interceptions. There were some opportunities, which is why, like, when we talk about Christian Gonzalez and what he was able to do, there were some batted balls and balls that could have been intercepted by Christian Gonzalez specifically that I don't understand why he didn't get credit for passes defended. But 4 tackles, I think that he did his best and was the best Patriot on the field in this Super Bowl. Drake May, from a stat line, doesn't look like a terrible day, but the eye test, those 2 interceptions, and just wasn't really able to move the ball down the field when it mattered the most. I think in the end, when we start to look about those garbage points, empty calories, like Uncle Shay Sharp would say. 27 for 43, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Looks like he would have had a decent game had he not turned the ball over, but no. Had a terrible game. Did not look good. Looked out of place. But he's a second-year player with a lot to look forward to. That doesn't mean that we'll see Drake May in a Super Bowl again. We've seen very many people. Dan Marino got there his rookie or second season and never saw the Super Bowl again. Heck of an arm talent, and we got a lot to look for when it comes to Drake May. But overall, the game went about where I thought it would go. I said that the Seahawks defense would cause havoc. I just didn't see Drake May being the reason why they won those games that they had won. You get a Bo Nix that's injured and breaks his ankle. Broncos don't play with their starting quarterback. If C.J. Stroud plays a halfway decent game, we're looking at the Texans moving forward and not the Patriots. And then Justin Herbert and that offensive line just looked atrocious. So there's nothing that after injury being atrocious when looking atrocious. Don't want to completely put that on them, but you know what? At the end of the day, you play who you play. You got to beat who you beat, and they got to the Super Bowl. But Drake May just never really quite looked like the MVP that a lot of people thought he should have been. So, given what happened, I just didn't see the Seahawks being able to let up like that. Mike McDonald got that defense rolling, and they controlled and dominated the game like I thought they would. But I just did not think that it would get to the point where it was such a snoozer. I thought eventually Patriots could figure it out, either throwing the ball, running the ball, getting trick plays. We'll figure out some way to keep it close in the end. But my gut, I should have went with my gut. I told people go Seahawks minus whatever the points were and the under, and I went Patriots and the over. Gave away my money. It's neither here nor there. Bad Bunny did his thing, and this is the thing for me. When we start to have these conversations, people need to take your feelings out of it. For conservatives to call everyone else snowflakes and libs and Democrats are these terrible people, there is no official language for USA. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. So Bad Bunny is American. Now, he comes from a Spanish-speaking island, country, whatever you want to call it. It's still a U.S. territory. So he is American. So him not speaking Spanish or him not speaking English should not take away from the fact that he is, in fact, American. So all of these people that's coming out of the woodworks and coming out of nowhere talking about some like he's not American and this is an American sport and woo wah. All right, I'll give you some of it, but when it comes to his citizenship and what he is to America, what the NFL are trying to do, there's a bigger global scheme. I think they're playing 9 games outside of the United States next year. Germany, Brazil, to name a few. They always played a game in London. They've been playing games in Mexico. They're starting to try to grow the game to a global standpoint. Why not grab the biggest global artist, period, right now? Me personally, I think from what I watched, I'm not a big Bad Bunny fan from a reggaeton standpoint. I have other artists that I would rather listen to be honest with you. But I think given the song choices, the visuals, who was out there, things that they placed, the entertainment, production value, Chef's Kiss had a phenomenal performance. It was entertaining yet educational, starting from the fields and old Puerto Rico to then now you see him in New York where there's a lot of Puerto Ricans. And then different celebrities, Lady Gaga, and the song choice where they took a Bruno Mars song and made a flip to where there's a merengue salsa flip on that same song. Then you got a Ricky Martin who makes an appearance. And I think that the visuals and everything, it wasn't that long of a performance, but it was a great performance. I think that he did the damn thing. And viewership showed, regardless of what people thought about it, and the people that tried to, we gonna go and do this all-American show and Kid Rock. And first of all, why is Kid Rock the selling point? Like, Kid Rock at his peak was never a selling point, let alone to do and take Kid Rock now. And you're going to put him up against a Bad Bunny and think that you're going to get real viewership. Even the people that tried to act like they're conservatives are watching Bad Bunny. It is what it is. Bad Bunny becomes the most watched Super Bowl halftime performance, eclipsing Kendrick, and who did it last year, and Michael Jackson, who held it prior to that, which was also the first halftime performance because In Living Color blew them out the water the year prior. So they go and get a Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson had like 134 million viewers. Kendrick eclipsed that by 135, I think 1.5 mil. And then Bad Bunny took it up a couple more mil. So congrats to him, man. I think that that's a hell of a performance. I love the entertainment value, regardless if you understood what he's saying or not. I think a lot of times, as a person that I've dated primarily Hispanic women in my adult life, you can pick up on body language, visual effects, and what people are trying to do. We sit here and people complain about him being this divisive person, but if you look and even dissect some of the things that he said and what he did out there, to act as if he wasn't trying to bridge people together, where America is a melting pot. There is no face of America. There is no official language of America. So America being one and we're stronger together than we are apart is something I can get behind. Regardless if he spoke English or not, I felt the music and I felt the message. Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick were not inducted into the Hall. I talked about Bill Belichick, but Robert Kraft ended up following afterwards and was not did not make it to the Hall. And Randy Moss came out and said he didn't want to take away from anything, so I'm not going to mention the players that made it to the Hall in this particular post or video or live stream. But should players and coaches be the only one voting to have a vote for the Hall? I think this is tough because you get players like for example, Shady McCoy and his take on Sam Darnold. Yes, Sam Darnold was trash, but where we're at right now, he had a good season last year and flamed out in the playoffs. Had a good season this year, played well in the playoffs, but didn't play that well in the Super Bowl. Had some throws, some air throws, behind throws, and things of that nature, to where if there was an offense, if the Patriots had an offense, your was good, gangy. I appreciate you for popping in, my boy. If the Patriots had a competent offense, now we're looking at a different game, given some of those throws that Sam Darnold was making, especially in the second half when the Patriots were loading the box, and Kenneth Walker didn't have such a dominant performance in the second half like he did in the first half. So now Sam Darnold has won a Super Bowl, give the man his props, but we can't give him his props because our personal feelings and ego are going into it. And that's where I start to think, like, all right, Robert Kraft, we can't ignore the fact that he was brought up on charges. Now you can say, right, wrong place, wrong time. But given where the Epstein list is right now, the Epstein files, some of the higher and people, billionaires and millionaires of this country being in some fraudulent, wild stuff, I'm not going to say that he deserves to be in the Hall right now. We need more proof, more things that he's not involved in, and then maybe we can put him in the Hall. Bill Belichick, on the other hand, there's no argument that you can tell me that he's not the best coach, if not one of the best coaches, given his history and what he's been able to do with these teams. And from a defensive standpoint, even just being a defensive coordinator, the team that he had with the Giants. Then he goes to the Browns as a head coach. They make the playoffs. He comes to the Patriots, where they were getting to the Super Bowl and never being able to win the big one. They get Tom Brady, regardless if you think 6-7, for that one. But at the end of the day, the success that they had in that dominance dynasty, he was the head coach. So for him to not make this is where it's like, all right, this has to be a personal feeling toward a player or a coach that this is why you don't put him in here. Fred Taylor is another one that I just don't quite understand why he's not in the Hall. I've watched. Now, do I think that Fred Taylor is the greatest running back to ever play? No. I think that if we look at a player or a franchise that has Maurice Jones-Drew, Fred Taylor, to name a few, what they were able to do, 10,000 yards, career yards, given his injury history, should show you how good of a player Freddie T was. And I just don't quite understand why he's not in the Hall. I do believe we should have more players than reporters who are voting for the Hall, but I don't think that we should just go all player coach to get in the Hall. Or if we do, you got to make it make sense, man. There should be somebody that overrules that if you're taking a Justin Herbert to put him in the MVP vote. where this vote could have went to someone who really was an MVP. You know what I mean? NFL Combine, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I know we start to get to a point where, damn, football is over. Baseball is coming up. The NFL Combine toward the end of the month. Now, then we start to get the conference tournaments for March Madness, leading into March Madness. I love this time because it gives me the ability to focus on other things. This weekend coming up, NBA All-Star weekend. Just announced LeBron will be sitting out games, so he will not be an All-NBA player or have an opportunity for the accolades or regular season accolades, which would end his run of All-NBA teams. But I think offensive players going into this combine and where we're at right now, these are some players that I think people should be on the lookout for. We're going to start out at quarterback. Obviously, does Fernando Mendoza end up throwing? Does he run a 40 time? Where do we go from here? I think that, do we expect him to throw? I don't. I think that he's the number one pick regardless if he throws or not. Now, we'll see. Does he go in and just say, F it? Hey, I'm going to show y'all my competitive spirit. We'll see. Ty Simpson out of Alabama. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. And then going over to the running back position, Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska. Jonah Coleman out of, I don't want to say the wrong thing here, so let's make sure we got it correct. Out of Washington, Carnell Tate, my Ohio State Buckeye guy. Buckeye boy, I'm a big fan of him, honestly. I think definitely my wide receiver one going into this draft. Jordan Tyson out of ASU. Mekhi Lemon out of USC. Denzel Boston, big body receiver out of Washington. Then we're looking at tight ends, Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, Joe Royer from Cincinnati, Fallon Bentley out of Utah. Going over to the offensive tackles, Francis Malgo out of Miami, Spencer Fenno out of Utah, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, Caleb Lomu out of Utah. And just to name a few, these are some players that I think that we should be on the lookout for. Now, some of these players I think are who we think they are, so I don't anticipate them doing too many things out there to really showcase anything. I think Jeremiah Love, regardless of what kind of 40 time or any kind of combine things, he's running back one by a long shot. I think Mendoza is quarterback one by a long shot. And so next week, I'll go over some defensive players that we should be on the lookout for. But I'm looking for it. I love this time of year. Who's real? Who's fake? Going over some of the NBA highest. We're going to go through their standings. Top 5 of both. I'm going to tell you who do I think is the realest, who do I think is the fakest. And so Detroit, Boston at number 1, Boston at number 2, New York at number 3, Cleveland at 4, Toronto at 5. Honestly, anything can happen when it comes to playoff basketball. Once you get in the dance, anything can happen. But right now, I think the Knicks and the Raptors looking kind of funny in the light. I think the emergence and trade for James Harden is going to put Cleveland in a position to where they should be real contenders. Then we go Boston, even without a Jason Tatum. Detroit, that young squad led by Cade Cunningham. It's just one of them things where there's no proven commodity here outside of maybe Boston, but then they don't have Jason Tatum. So who's real and who's fake? Honestly, Cleveland is in that territory where you got to show me. James Harden don't have a great track record when it comes to the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell, when it really truly to get it done. So Honestly, the only one I'm gonna give Detroit some credit because they were there last year. Now we build on that. Now we're the number one seed in the East, if not all of that, where OKC is the number one in the West. So we got the number one spot in the East. No Jason Tatum, no Tyrese Halliburton. New York plays well, plays bad, very inconsistent. James Harden getting his feet wet and getting used to being on that Cleveland roster. I think his ability to create but still be able to score while also not being the number one option, I think will help him in the long run, but we will see what happens when they get to the playoffs. So for me, Cleveland, Boston, Detroit, I believe in them more, although Cleveland is right on that cusp. So New York and Toronto are my fakes. And so OKC at 1, Spurs at 2, Houston Rockets at 3, Denver Nuggets at 4, Lakers at 5. Lakers are definitely in my fakes. They're the imposters of the group. But honestly, this really can go either way because you got the Spurs. If Wemby is healthy, you can put them up against anybody. They have a good young core, playing hard, good defense, can get buckets. Houston with a Şengün and Thompson, the Thompson twin, as well as KD, Reed Shepherd doing his thing too. Tough out, but I still got Denver. If everyone is healthy, Denver and Jokic is going to be a tough out. I just don't. There's a reason why teams just don't repeat like that. I just don't see OKC being able to repeat. I think they have the talent, but playing good basketball now, I think that the Timberwolves in the end are going to be a threat. I think that the Denver Nuggets are going to be a threat. And I think the Spurs, although they're a young squad, are going to be a tough out. So my fakes, who's real, who's fake? OKC, although I just don't see them winning it. I don't see them repeating. Spurs, Nuggets, T-Wolves, I would put them in the real. And then that Houston is on the cusp, but the Lakers are definitely my fakes of the group. I just don't see them being able. They might make noise in the playoffs, maybe be a tough out, but I don't see them being able to beat OKC or the Timberwolves, shoot, even the Rockets. So going over to my fast break, just a couple quick hitters before we get up out of here, or before I get up out of here. I seen some talk about the Black National Anthem. Now, let's get over here to chat and see how long has this shit been around, because y'all niggas is late with all this fake outrage. All right. And the one thing I think that we need to have the conversation, especially when it comes to conservative whites specifically, the things that black people have, there would be no reason to have them if y'all included us in them in the first place. The Black National Anthem exists because the original national anthem has a whole verse that's dedicated and shows how deep and how slavery is embedded in our culture and history here in this country. The third verse mentions going back and bringing back slaves if they try to escape or run away. So the origins in the 1900s, it was written by James Weldon Johnson, composed by, hold up, get out of here. First performed on February 12th, 1900 in Jacksonville, Florida, for a celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday by a choir of 500 black school children. So it's already been performed in white spaces, and its original performance was in a white space for Abraham Lincoln. So you're showing your racism here. The fact that it even exists at all is because of racism. So anything that black people have, HBCUs wouldn't exist if y'all let us in white schools. If there was no racism or slave talk in the original national anthem. We wouldn't have the Black national anthem. And so these things, lift every voice and sing, is here because of your racism. But you got a problem with it because of your racism. Let's acknowledge that part and not leave out why it's here in the first place. Y'all piss me off with that shit, yo. Bills owner, I seen Willie McGinnis on the All the Smoke podcast, and he said what the Bills owner said about Keon Coleman is some bitch shit. I think that nigga's a hoe at the end of the day. I think if a player comes out and criticizes the owner, they're looked at as this terrible person. And I get the structure. If you're the owner, you can make the decisions. But that doesn't mean that you get to throw blame on coaches. Now, if I'm a head coach, why would I go there if I know that things don't work out? They going to run the bus over or drive the bus over me on my way out the door. Because if you're the owner, you should stand with the decisions that the coaches made, the staff made. To come out and say, oh, it wasn't my decision to draft Keon Coleman. It was his decision, and that's why he out of here. Now, if it didn't work out, cool. Sometimes things just don't work out. It is what it is. There are players that we thought just were going to be these supreme athletes. Kyle Pitts is someone that what we thought he would be. He just hasn't been that. But Keon Coleman is still under contract and on that squad. So to come out and act as if he's just this bust and has no ability to be able to turn it around, he's still a player on that team, and he's only going into his third season, if not his fourth season. Still under contract. You haven't cut him, so what are we even really talking about here? I don't like that shit, bro. That shit get on my nerves. The Bulls blow up the squad. They bring in a Jaden Ivey, getting rid of Herter in the process. They bring in a Rob Dillingham. They trade away Kobe White. They trade away Vooch. They get in Anthony Simons. This is the year to tank. We got Caleb with North Carolina. You got the Boozer boy. You got my boy out of BYU. And there's a plethora of teams where I think if we really truly think about it, we can go 8 to 9 starters, if not legit role players in this draft that could be able to come in and contribute within a 2 to 3 year period. And that's the thing for me when it comes to, like, if you're going to keep being in these playing games every year. Oh, Darren Peterson as well, the best scoring guard that we've seen, lockdown defender as well. And I think that where we are right now, this is a time period in which you cannot be in the this is the year to tank. I think when it really comes down to it, being in these playing games, putting yourself in a position where you're not going to be able to get a high spot in the NBA lottery, like, this is why the Bulls have been where they are. Now you blow up the team, you get rid of Vooch, you get rid of Kobe, you still have Josh Giddey, you still got Montes, you bring in a Jaden Ivey, you got an Anthony Simons, you got a Rob Dillingham. Now you see what you can do with these people while they're still under the roster. Then you can ship them off, trade them out, let them go, whatever, and build your roster through the draft. Because ultimately, unless you were able to get free agents in, the draft is where it's at. James Pierce and Rickea Jackson have a domestic dispute over the weekend. And fellas, I just want to say, and I'm not putting no blame on Rickea Jackson in no way, shape, or form. When it comes to male emotions, black men, do not let your emotions trick you out of an opportunity. He already had problems in college, which is why you slid in the draft. You get picked, have a decent year, 10.5 sacks. As a rookie is great, nothing to sneeze at. Double-digit sacks is always a good thing. But then you have this situation where you get into it with your girl, and you can't control your emotions to where you're fighting off 7 cops in the area in which you're in. That very easily could have been led to something where we're talking about RIPs and things of that nature. Being able to control your emotions and be able to see things clearly to where you're not tricking off an opportunity on a person that you're the one taking it there. You've been known to have the anger issue, not her. So it's like, why can't you control your emotions? Never going to put blame on this girl because I don't know the situation like that. So I'm not going to talk about her in any way, shape, or form. I'm specifically talking to the men. Control your emotions no matter what, because people will push your buttons. Your girl is more likely to know what buttons to push, but also, why are we getting that mad to where cops need to be called? You're already a big, very large NFL football player, black in America. Cops are trigger happy. Don't put yourself in a position where you can lose your life, your freedom, or lose your partner over something that you very well could have avoided. Be smarter. And Raider fans, before I do get up out of here, be patient. We got our guy. Clint Kubiak is the head coach. It looks like we got the number one pick. So no looks like on that one, but does look like we're going to take Mendoza with the number one pick. Max Crosby said that he's not going anywhere. He has no plans of being traded. So if that is true, we'll see what happens here. But you got a Ashton Jeanty, you got a Brock Bowers, you have pieces on the defense, young pieces that you can be able to do something with. Now we just have to build a roster. This is going to be a project for him specifically going into this year and to next. Can they hit on these draft picks that they got? And can they get something out of the draft picks that they took last year? There was a offensive lineman that looked good. Can he stay on the roster and be a mainstay? Jack Beck, we took in the second round. Darian Porter, we took in the third round. These are pieces that we need to be able to keep in-house, develop, and move forward. And so thank you all for watching. I do got to get up out of here, though. But like I mentioned before, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Thank you all for watching. I do appreciate you. We are approaching 150 in the subscriber column on YouTube, so help us get to 150. Last time I checked, I think we were at about 111, 112 on the subscriber list on YouTube. JUK Network, subscribe at JUK Network. Two Goobs being recorded on Thursday. New episode coming next Friday, as well as a King's Court Two Goobs edition cannabis review. Dropping on Friday. Make sure you go follow JUK Network, JUK Network on Facebook, and you can follow me at KYNGRALPH on Threads, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and add an underscore for X at Twitter. I do got to get up out of here. Got to put my princess to bed. Thank you all for watching. Love y'all. Peace.